fucking awesome. Come on, it's gonna be fucking awesome. You know the words. It's gonna be fucking awesome. That's it, see. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Yeah!
Heidi ho, my coolest geeks. How you doing, my friends? It's me, just Blaze Snider, Coolest Geek Alive. Of course, you know it's just my pledge to you to be the man on the spot who knows all the shit inside and out when it comes to geek culture. And I do. And it's a sad world for a man who knows, a lady who knows, anyone who knows. If you know what is happening, you know, I think that's like the biggest problem is most people just don't know. They don't know what could be. They've never read any of these great unmade into TV show and film books and novel series. They've never read any of these classic comic books. They don't know. They think Batman is that thing that they've seen in the movies. Dude, that's not fucking Batman. We've gotten close to it in Arkham Asylum. Arkham Asylum is pretty sweet. Certainly has a lot of the elements that make Batman so wonderful. But like, you know, Batman on the big screen is not Batman in the books, man. And I'm sure big Lord of the Rings fans would tell you how much richer the experience is with the Lord of the Rings. I'm a big fan of The Hobbit. I've read The Hobbit a bunch of times. And I've read the first chapter of The Lord of the Rings kind of multiple times because I bought a single volume book. I've talked about this before. Bought a single volume book of Lord of the Rings. It weighed like 15 pounds. And I tried to take it with me on a trip, and it was giving me back problems. So I never brought it with me anywhere ever again, and I never finished it, and I eventually sold it at a garage sale because I was just like carrying it around, and I'm like, I don't know when I'm gonna fucking read this. I'm like, I gotta read it on an iPad or something, and I'm gonna read it one day because it's on my bucket list of books that I want to read that are there. But I tend to be more focused on comics, so I've read all the fucking classic things that you can talk about in comics, from Crisis on Infinite Earths to Mouse and Dark Knight Returns, and just, you know, everything that I could get my hands on that I knew was spectacular. And that's what you do, you know, when you're studying to be really great at this stuff. And if you're out there and you're a new writer and you're not studying the great stuff, dude, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, I went to the school of Eric Larson for comics. Eric Larson, however you may feel about him, you know, everybody's unfortunately become a personality in this day and age, but he is known for his Spider-Man writing. He wrote Savage Dragon. I believe the first 78 issues, 79 issues or so, there's like a half issue and 3-issue miniseries that leads it off, are some of the greatest comics ever made. The book really kind of jumped the shark and did a couple silly things after that, and never got back on track to what it was. It still has plenty to offer, and Eric is great, but really what I got from that book was the passion that he had for comics in the letters section. He would answer letters, and he would always be just talking about the greats, about his love of Jack Kirby, about his love of the craftsmanship of comics, and he would talk about common faux pas in comics and mistakes that were made and playing to the turn page and all these different elements of comic books that spoke to me. Really spoke to me over time and taught me a lot about the richness of what there was to appreciate about a comic book well done, because he did. And that wasn't, of course, the only studying that I did, but that alone, just hearing him pointing out good comic making and then seeking out reading good comics and seeing good comic making, and then I was like, this is, okay, I get it. You know, a lot of people think that they're going to like create a new wheel and start a whole new thing. And oftentimes it seems because of their identity, because I identify this way and my life is more like this. Look, dude, whatever your life is like, it's based in a soap opera. It's based foundationally in some sort of writing that's already happened. So whatever your writing may be honest about what kind of writing it is and study the greats. There are great romance novelists, and there are great soap operas and great soap opera arcs. And if you're a comic book person because you love comic books and that's the kind of stuff that you write, study the great comic book writers. Great independent people come in and add things to established stuff all the time, but they prove themselves as great independent writers first. So if you're a great independent writer, but you want to do something in the major, well, that's great, but go prove yourself as a brilliant independent writer, that has something to say. And whatever your independent writing is, again, realize what is your genre. And, go watch The Twilight Zone and watch great writing. Great writing will make you better, I promise. Studying things will make you better. The reason why I am able to impart knowledge and information to you, because I've just studied this my whole life, and I've studied it from every angle, because I'm like a little Asperger's and a little ADHD and a little crazed workaholic, and I do this from a lot of different angles. At this point, I'm a publisher in comics. And I make music, and I produce music, and I produce music videos. I produce media. I've produced promotional videos for stuff. So, and then I'm a voiceover actor. I've been working with, ad agencies for, some for years. I was the voice of Kia Motors and the voice of Pizza Hut, and did commercials and reality television and a little bit of acting and like animation and narration. I do a lot of narration. I'm the voice of Food Paradise, for instance. But there's just so many little aspects to the entertainment business. But because of my sort of oddball nature, I really have had to do or interact with like every bit of it for the most part. So I know a lot on a practical standpoint, and then I'm a practical fan of entertainment and geek culture stuff. So my whole life, since I was a little kid, I've been buying toys and buying statues and going to conventions and buying comics and buying movies and buying DVDs, working at Blockbuster Video, working at comic book stores, working at Toy Story so I can have a discount, being a part of the industry, and then being a part of the industry as a professional merchant and being a part of the industry as a purchasing merchant. You understand what's selling and how is this doing and how's that doing, and if I wanted to put out a toy, what could I put out, what would sell, what could I actually make money on. When it becomes a business for you, and when it becomes a hobby for you, a serious hobby for you, you really come to think about it very economically, because it's a lot of money to be shelling out on statues and toys and whatever else all the time, and it's a lot of effort to be putting into projects that you want to make sure could be profitable, right? So speaking of which, could be profitable, my cool could be profitable mature readers comic book, Fucking for Our Future, is live on fundmycomic.com, and the website link is really easy. It's fundmycomic.com/fucking. I wasn't, I got censored on the website, and I had to go back in and cover up every time it said fucking. I had to either like bleep it out or like add like a censored bar, and I was really annoyed about it. And the only thing I didn't change was that link. The link is live. The fucking link is live. We have the fucking link, everybody. So you could go to fundmycomic.com right now /fuck. Well, it's fundmycomic.com/fucking, and you can find Fucking for Our Future. Just to say a quick thing about it, because I'm so proud of it, so happy. It's me and my buddy Dizzy Arnold. Largely did the whole thing ourselves, and it is a really funny science fiction story where the nudity is tied into the story. I hate nudity in comics. I never wanted to do anything like this, but I just saw so many business-minded businessmen, not geeks, who were making a lot of money on Kickstarter and all these places because there's a big audience for these nude books. And I was like, well, screw them, and I don't want them to be the new comic book industry. That we have enough businessmen running this industry into the ground right now as we speak. And I'm like, so let me play the same game that they play, but let me play it in my terms. So first of all, it was like, all right, how do I make the nudity not affect the story? And the other bit of it was like, how do I make this wonderful, not just for people who would be into a nude comic book, but wonderful for anybody. And the basic story goes, on planet Klon, 1,000 years ago or whatever, there was a rift between the men and women, relationship satisfaction, like kind of all the same shit that we're going through today. And the government was divided down the middle between men and women, and the women voted to leave. So all of the women left and they build their own civilization, and they've got their sex robots who are plowing the snow and killing killing the monsters and keeping them safe so they can read and better themselves and grow their civilization, and they build a utopia. But 1,000 years later, their cloning machines aren't working anymore, and now they're these petite little things, and the men have become these monstrous Bigfoots with these tripods. They've got a penis that goes down to the ground because they wrote it into their DNA that there'd be no penis envy ever again, because each generation's penis would be slightly larger than the last. So they're these monstrous men, and they build this power armor to go out into the wilderness and collect sperm samples, and the nobody will volunteer except for the princess. So the princess actually volunteers, and she's wearing this power armor, trying to collect these sperm samples from these animalistic men who are just, have no interest in women after 1,000 years and are asexually reproducing. They've genetically modified themselves. And it's like a Roadrunner cartoon, but the Roadrunner in this case is the three-legged man who has no interest in the advances of this female power armor, who's the coyote who desperately needs a sperm sample but can't seem to get one because the men, keep freaking out every single time they try to touch their thing. So anyway, it was so much fun doing this book. We're going to be on Kickstarter in a month, like mid-January. But the first 30 days are up on fundmycomic.com/fucking. There's an exclusive book there, a cover there that you can get. And if you want to help us on the ground floor, please do get over there right now and contribute. But anyway, I want to talk about Godzilla -1 and Hollywood budgets, because this shit is fucking wild. It's wild. It's wild, man. I'm just going to read some excerpts from this article here from Forbes. Nice and official. Godzilla -1 is highest grossing Japanese film in U.S. history. That's Mark Hughes. So this is a big deal. It says Takashi Yamazaki's masterpiece Godzilla -1. Ooh, I love that it's already being called a masterpiece, and he's the writer-director. Topped $14.36 million at the domestic box office, becoming the highest-grossing Japanese live-action film of all time in North America. So $14.36, and it's the highest-grossing of all time. Previous record holder was The Adventures of Milo and Otis, which I had no fucking idea was a Japanese film, released in 1989, which took $14.1 million. So this is something for you guys. Like, when you read these articles, they never mention the truth here, right? $14.1 million in 1989. With inflation, I don't know what that goes up to, but that's like an astronomical number. That means that it made like $80 million. But, the highest grossing, well, I guess that's highest grossing for one weekend. So, I mean, I think this one definitely has a chance to surpass it. It's great. I think it could make $100 million or close to it. But that $14.1 million of the total Milo and Otis is much higher. And the amount of butts in seats for that $14.1 million compared to the $14.36 that they have made so far in the first weekend or whatever for Godzilla -1, this was last weekend, it's the highest grossing. But so always think about that when they're comparing these things to the other films. Think about the inflation of groceries and shit, right? The inflation of these films, the ticket prices, so much. There's so many factors going on that aren't at play here when you see these numbers. So never take these numbers just at face value. Godzilla -1 now boasts a 41 million global cum as it heads into its second weekend of release. So it made a little 14.5 million here and 41 million total so far. And that was just for the weekend. I haven't looked at the up-to-date numbers. Maybe I'll pull them up after I finish with this. Its stateside bow, 11.4 million, earned it a bronze medal at the weekend box office behind Renaissance, filmed by Beyonce, had 21 million. Hunger Games had a 14.1 million. Okay. So by Monday, however, Godzilla -1 claimed the top spot on the domestic box office charts. On Tuesday, fell just about 84,000 shy of repeating at the number one position. Okay, so this has a little bit of the week, but I might get us a little bit more. Okay, so moving down to the main point here. Godzilla minus one has become a must-see movie of the year. It's being talked about. There's buzz. Obviously, people are going to watch it when it comes to streaming. I think a lot more people are going to come out to see it. It's dubbed. I mean, it's not dubbed. It's not dubbed. It's subtitled. So this is a thing, when it comes to French films and whatever else. There's a great movie called Brotherhood of the Wolf that a lot of people didn't see at the time. It's fucking awesome, worth seeing, because it was dubbed and it was in theaters, but it's really a lot of these, when these movies do get the release, it's usually because they really think it's a pretty great movie, and it's worth checking out here. Strong growing word of mouth, as well as repeat business, and the fact it is not just a mind-blowing giant monster sci-fi horror spectacle, but also a powerful dramatic character story, makes it stand out in the marketplace that feels a bit stagnant lately. Yes, absolutely, that's true. And I wanted to credit, did I say it was Mark Hughes who wrote this, who is the contributing writer? The writer, I like to be credited for the things that I do. Okay, so here we go. Okay, 6 to 7 million North American gross this weekend, combined with updated weekday estimates and international receipts, should push Godzilla minus one beyond 50 million. This isn't blockbuster territory, obviously, but with a $15 million production budget and a modest marketing cost, the picture is well into profitability territory and should enjoy a healthy run through the holidays till the next major release start gobbling up screens. Did you hear that, guys? $15 million. That's how much they spent on Godzilla. I don't know if you guys have any idea about this, but they've admitted to upwards of 200 million. It looks like the Marvels is at least 300 million. 300 million they made the Marvels for. They are going to lose so much money on that film. And they are losing so much money. They had a success this year with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and it's nothing to pick up the losses that they've made on all these other things because of how much fucking crazy amounts of money they spent on this stuff. So Godzilla minus one has been pushed to first place over at Box Office Mojo. That's always like a nice quick place to go and get box office stuff. So far, worldwide, they're at 42 million. Domestic, 15 million thus far, based on where we're up to here, which seems to only be up to Wednesday of this week. So this is just, up to midweek. I'm recording on Friday, and this is it only has it up for Wednesday. So they've made back their budget already. Okay, they've made back their budget. I can't even stress like how crazy this is. I want to pull up some of these budgets. I think I can pull them up on Box Office Mojo while I'm looking at this. 15 million, man. 15 million. I'm telling you that the budgets for Ant-Man and these other Marvel films are. I'm sorry. I should have did some math before I went on the air. If it's 15 and we doubled that and then we do that, so 90 would put us up to 6 times the budget. So if it's just under 100,000, that's 6 times. So 6 times. So if it's a 200 million budget, it's essentially a 10 times the budget. So what the fuck, Hollywood? Look what these people just did with $15 million. With $15 million, they've already made it back. That's over here. The most successful thing that over here, it's $15 million. I just I don't understand this way of thinking. I mean, I do. I can tell you exactly what's going on, ultimately. Bob Iger has a laissez-faire sort of attitude when it comes to his creative people. And I actually agree with that to a large degree. I really believe you get people who you trust and then you get out of the fucking way and you let them do what they do. But you must oversee them. And you must understand what it is that they're overseeing in order to have any sort of notion about what it is they're doing and whether or not they're doing a good job. It's all crazy to me that this could be allowed to happen the way it's been happening. And the budgets have just been ballooning and ballooning. And it's not just Disney. It's everywhere. It's all of Hollywood. It's across the board. Anyway, I have here a list of some of the production costs for a lot of the films. And, you know, you can just see in general, right? I mean, like, I don't have the recent ones, but production costs for Avengers Endgame, $356 million. All right. You got all these big stars, whatever else, perhaps that's appropriate. The Avengers, 220. Avengers Age of Ultron, 250. Iron Man 3, 200 million. Captain America Civil War, 250 million. Spider-Man Far From Home, 160. Captain Marvel, 160. Now, I'm pretty positive all of these do not include marketing spends because this is too low. Some of these numbers here, like I just happened to find this online. But these budgets balloon, and the executives, they tend to throw money at these things. Like 2007 Spider-Man 3, it's got a budget of $258 million, which seems like a lot to be being spent in 2007 when there's Age of Ultron in 2015 with all these big actors, whatever else, and they spent $250. You guys spent more than that on Spider-Man 3, which was terrible. Overthinking, over budget, overthinking. These are the things that corporations do. Guardians of the Galaxy was $200 million. Thor Ragnarok, $180 million. Spider-Man, $138 million. Spider-Man 2, $200 million. Deadpool 2, Deadpool 58. Guardians of the Galaxy, $170. Okay, guys, this isn't all their fucking actor budgets and shit. You know, this is like crazy CGI everything, shoot everything in front of a green screen. I mean, like, I don't have to talk about it anymore. I mean, seriously, like, the lowest budgets on here are budgets from studios that aren't them. $58 million from Deadpool, $97 million for Logan, $130 was Ant-Man. That's like one of their lowest. The Wolverine and X-Men 2 was 110, 120 from Fox. 110, 120. That's still 4 or 5 times more than the $15 million that they just made, that they just spent. And let me tell you what they spent, what they got for that $15 million. They got the greatest Godzilla movie ever made. It's the single greatest Godzilla movie ever made. It was fucking awesome. And I mean, it was built up for me, and I expected it to be great based on everything that I heard from everybody, and I sat down and I watched a great movie with my oldest son, Cassidy West, and we went, yeah, fuck yeah, this is amazing. And there were I hesitate to call them lulls, there were lulls in the Godzilla content, which would normally, even as a Godzilla fan, and I'm a big Godzilla fan. My dad was a Godzilla fan. He used to bring back like artifacts from his trips to Japan when he would go on tour over there. And I love playing with those Godzilla things. I had a massive Godzilla in my 6-inch city that I had that was an import from Japan. I love Godzilla. I've watched probably every Godzilla movie at least once. There's probably some that I've missed because they have made a lot. But generally speaking, I used to have all the Godzilla box sets and behind the scenes of things, and I was just always fascinated by Muppets and puppets and creatures and practical effects, and I loved Godzilla. And that's the crazy thing about this Godzilla 2. This is still a practical effect. It's still a guy in a suit, apparently. There are some places in which you can kind of see how, okay, I guess it's a guy in a suit. But this fucking Godzilla puppet, oh my God, it's awesome. It's awesome, and they use CGI to accentuate practical effects, and it's very, very well done. And all of the lulls in Godzilla are fabulous because they cast wonderful actors who all really carry their parts, and the situations that they're going through are very real. They're going through real life and not like personal identity shit. They're having to deal with things being foisted upon them and having to rise to the occasion and overcome. And there's a little bit of like a Deus Machina kind of like happy ending kind of bit that you get at the end. And you love it because it's great. It's earned. It's not necessarily earned in that I like the audience says, whatever, I'll figure out how that happened because I want it to happen. I'm going to figure out how that happened because I want it to happen. I've talked about this before. I had a friend of mine who gave me a script. She was this great script about all these like little rock and roller chicks who were having a great time, starting a band and like, you know, being some hell-raising B-girls. And it was super great and empowering, except it was not remotely satisfying because she didn't put these girls through enough paces. And I told her, I said, the audience, by the time you get to the end, the audience is going to be like so disgusted by these women. They're going to be like, oh my God, fuck these bitches. Like, I don't want them to get what they had. They don't deserve it. All this stuff. However, if you just add in a lot of their struggle and turmoil and their efforts, they're efforting to get this thing that they want, it doesn't matter how you give them their happy ending. The audience will kill you if you don't. You know, and it's really true. You know, like just put your characters through enough that the audience is like, you better give them the happy ending, or you know, a great example of this is Animal Man. Homework for tonight: go read Grant Morrison's wonderful Animal Man. It's 3 trade paperbacks, probably I don't want to say like. Probably like around 20 comic books, and some of the greatest comic book reading of my fucking life, some of the greatest entertainment of my life. Animal Man by Grant Morrison. Go do yourself a favor, read that. And it's one of those things that has a wonderful, ultimately happy ending that if you could have jumped through the pages of the book to hug everybody and tell the authors on the other side, you've done great work, thank you so much, thank you for doing this for me. It really does seem like it was made for you as a reader. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to talk about it. But really, some of my favorite entertainment of my life. I highly recommend it. Thank you, Grant Morrison, and all of the wonderful artists who worked on that book. Anyway, including the great Brian Boland, who did the covers. This fucking deal here, $15 million for Godzilla, and how many freaking millions of dollars that they're throwing at the wall and wasting. And Warner Brothers and all these other studios, they're no better. These big studios, I was saying that I know what's going on here. You know, the Bob Iger's a part of it. Another part of it is the fact that the bigger these operations get, the easier it gets to trim money off the top. And these situations become like just money is disappearing. And I know because I know so many people in the film industry. I have a friend of mine, Stacey Toy, shout out to Stacey Toy, who goes on tour, you know, sort of ranting about this and talking about film and film needs to be done right and handled right. And these endeavors are like, it's just like so irresponsible and money just goes missing. And they're like crime enterprises and like money laundering enterprises and so many other things. And like the whole film business and industry needs to be remade because so much is just getting skimmed. These movies could be done for so much cheaper, but these bigger studios, they keep them big because there's a lot of mouths to feed in the pipeline. But when your budget is that big, and then your marketing budget has to be that much bigger or whatever else, you know, usually it's like half of what you paid you spend on the marketing. It's insane how much money. Like anything that you know about, money was spent to make you know about it. You know about my podcast because money was spent to promote my podcast. This podcast isn't just any podcast that's going out into the world by itself going, oh, gee, hey. You know, I was approached by the Podcast Playground. I was looking to do some stuff anyway, and it happened to, you know, sort of stars aligned. I was ready. I was like, oh, yes, I'm ready to do a show. And how about, yeah, okay, podcast. And you guys were going to promote it? Awesome. That's what I was trying to figure out on my end. How was I going to promote this thing so that people would actually find it? If you don't promote something, people don't find it. And the Godzilla thing, clearly it's been being promoted, but it's getting a lot of word of mouth because it's so good. And I think they're probably going to promote it much more now, probably put a lot more money or at least consider putting more money into promotion to how much they might be able to get. If I was them, I'd be thinking about releasing a dubbed version as well and having 2 versions playing so that people can choose, because some people have a hard time doing that, reading and watching a movie. But it's delightful. It's great. I went in freaking hyped up about it, and it's awesome. The human character story are all just really deep and meaningful and great. And, just when you feel like maybe this is getting a little long in the tooth on anything, Godzilla shows up. And so it's no lulls. It's just like it trucks along, and me and my 12-year-old son were gleeful idiots enjoying it, and they called it a masterpiece. I think that's fair. I think Godzilla has always been foundationally some really great science fiction. The original Godzilla, not like the modernized thing, which has plenty of good things to offer, but the foundational thing about Godzilla being a product of the atomic bomb and World War II, and having a spiritual component of past sins and all these things. There's a lot of really interesting things about Godzilla when taken from that standpoint, and putting characters through paces, going through the experience of Godzilla in a harrowing way. I think generally speaking, a lot of people are too kind to the people that they're dealing with in these stories, and it's like, let's get to know them. Now, let's worry about them as they don't die, right? This is more of a, people are affected by Godzilla. Their lives are changed for forever. And then Godzilla's back, and they have to do something about it. And it's like, it's really wonderful. And I mean, that sums it up, pretty good and vaguely, but it's because of that, because of the nature of that, putting these characters through the paces, as I was talking about. Man, you will be on board for Godzilla -1. I highly recommend it. And shame on you, fucking Hollywood. $15 million. They did to Tony Stark. Godzilla -1 made this movie in Japan for $15 million. And Marvel and Warner Brothers and say, we're not Godzilla -1. You're not. You're not Godzilla -1. But maybe if you study close the formula that's on display here, you can be. Well, that's it for today, Coolest Geeks. I'm keeping it short because this is like a little bit of a non-spoiler review and whatever else for the weekend episode. But I'm your passionate geek culture commentator, Jesse Blaze Snider. I love you so much. Write to me at jesseblaze@jessesnider.com. And I really look forward to hearing from you. I do. Or you can follow me on the X. I'm Coolest Geek JBS. Thank you for listening to my show. Please do contribute to the Fucking for Our Future fundraiser for Fucking for Our Future #1. There's also awesome Fucking for Our Future cards. There's these I only just learned the term. But these cards that we made of all the covers, all the sexy covers that we have, they're really, really cool. Anyway, it's hysterical. Man, woman, child, gay, straight. You'll all love it. Well, not child, but keep the children alive. Anyway, I hope you join me again next Saturday and this coming Wednesday for another ass-kicking episode of the Coolest Geek Alive. Rock on. You've been listening to Coolest Geek Alive with me, your host, Jesse Blaze Snider. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe for more excellent geek culture content. Thanks for listening.
It's my favorite part. Isn't it heavy? I played that. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Coolest alive. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Stay with your tribe. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Revenge of the Geeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Week after weeks. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Laughing with you. It's gonna be fucking awesome. And crying sometimes too. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Spelling it out. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Making you shout. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Talking some shit. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Living your shit. My voice is gonna be fucking awesome. Food in our mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Get in the mouth. It's gonna be fucking awesome. with the show. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Ready, set, go. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome. Just wait. You'll see. You'll all see.
The podcast playground. Hooray!